All right, for step one of CIPing the bottling line, we're gonna get a block and bleed set up and put it on the racking arm of this 208 tank or any open unvented tank. We will get our drain hose. That's usually out by the hoses. Tri-clamp gasket it to the end here and direct the end of the drain hose toward the drain. Then we're going to take our large supply hose, the orange hose, uncoil it a bit. This one we tri-clamp gasket to the bottom of the cone or the bottom of the tank. Next, we grab the clear braided hose. Uncoil it a bit. And attach it to the T of the block and bleed. To start out the run, we want the racking arm closed and we want the drain of the block and bleed open to the drain. All right, for step two, we're gonna take our water supply hose, hook it up to one of the side ports with a 90 and a valve. We'll keep this open because we'll be prepared to send hot water next. For step three, we're gonna start collecting hot water in the tank. We'll do that by switching the valve to hot and opening up the supply water. Now you should be able to hear water beginning to fill the tank. Make sure you have a sturdy platform or ladder to watch it fill with warm water. While we're filling with hot water, we're gonna wanna get our volume above the inlet of the racking arm. Once we collect our warm or hot water up to the inlet of the racking arm, we'll shut this off and go next door to the machine. Next step is to come over to the bottling line and turn on the main power and then give it a few moments to boot up. Once you hear the machine boot up and the caps move, you know it's ready to go and you can open up the valve 389. That last valve we opened was the return. This valve is the supply, and our next step will be opening this valve. This one doesn't have a number on it, but you can tell because it's the one in front of the sight glass between the pneumatic pump. Okay, all right, you ready? Yep. All right, the next step will be dealing with the screen here. And what you're gonna wanna do first is reset any faults that might be showing. Next, you're going to wanna click the hammer and wrench, go to setting, washing, filler on, and then click start. Start washing phases, click the check mark. Then you click enable heights positioning, and you confirm. That confirm was making sure that the dummy bottles are on the line, and that's a process we do after every can run, so they should be there for your CIP. All right, the next step, we're going to want to turn the tank washing phase on. We're going to want to turn the acid washing phase on. The other three there should be off. And then we're going to click start washing phases. That's going to start moving the machine and pulling hot water from the tank earlier and flushing the system. All right, now we're going to turn on this pump. And this will actually get the water flowing through the lines and flushing the system. Now that the valves are open, the machine is on, all the buttons pressed, and the pump is on, we should start to see warm water flowing out the drain. Once you start getting warm water out of the drain valve, you can switch to start your recirc. Now that the tank is recirculating, we're going to want to add our liquid caustic Excel, and we fill it up to the middle line. You're going to want to wear your proper protective equipment. Make sure you have sure footing, and add your caustic to the recirculating tank. All right, now that we got the caustic cycle going, we're gonna let it run for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, we can clear our dead legs. So we're gonna wanna open 388 and close 389. Let that go for a little bit. This just clears that little dead leg in the T of the setup here. Then we're gonna wanna shut it back the way it was. The next dead leg we're gonna wanna flush with this 10-minute gap is this valve, M360. And this is a valve to the drain. We're gonna wanna just crack it. Don't open it all the way. Let some caustic flush out that dead drain, maybe a few seconds. Close her up. All right, now that our 10-minute caustic cycle has passed, I'm gonna go back to the screen here and press stop. You're gonna hear the machine stop. You're gonna notice that these on buttons are solid rather than dotted. And cut. Okay. Then we're gonna hit open, close, and start, and then start washing phases. Now that this phase is starting, we're watching for these pedestals to come up and press the dummy bottle buttons. We want that to happen 3 times. There it goes. So after the dummy bottles have flushed and rinsed 3 times, we're going to click stop. You're going to hear the machine stop at that point. Then we're going to click close. After we click close, we're going to turn on the circuit washing phase. Okay. 5387? Yep. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Yep. Once the machine has stopped, the next step is to open up this red valve 385. Also, this red valve 387. And then this black butterfly valve, and you're going to want to open this slowly. The next step, we're going to come back to the screen and we're going to press start. Start washing phases. Go. You're gonna see the machine start moving, and then we're gonna go next door. All right, our next step is to come back over here. We're gonna open to the floor and close the racking arm butterfly valve. This is gonna allow all the volume in here to start draining through the system and into the drain. Once you've drained your caustic out of the tank, you'll notice the pump start to click quicker and quicker and quicker. You don't want that to happen very much. So now we're gonna add more hot water to the vessel. So while we're filling this with hot water and the system is rinsing to the drain, we're gonna wanna collect water up to about the racking arm, and then we'll shut this off. All right, so right now we are rinsing the circuit washing phase. The next step is we are going to click stop. We should hear the machine stop. We're going to turn on the tank washing phase. That should automatically turn off the circuit washing phase. And then we are going to click open and close and start. Start washing phases, start. You might get a fault. You're going to want to reset any fault. Start again. It's got to do it. We're going to want to hit start again. Start washing phases again after I cleared the fault.
It's going to do it a couple times for whatever reason it does that. So
yeah. Okay. Now we're going to want to reset the fault again. Try to start it again. Still faulting on me. This may happen a few times. There it goes. So we're gonna run this phase and allow it to go through the dummy bottles 3 times again. All right, now that this has rinsed 3 times through the dummy bottles, we're going to want to press stop. And then we're going to close the dummy bottles. Then we're going to press start. Start washing phase. And now I'm going to go over and flush those dead legs again. All right, now that I've done that on the screen, I'm going to want to flush my dead legs again. To do that, I'm going to close 389 and open 388 only for a few moments. Then I'm gonna put it back to the way it was. For flushing this dead leg, we're gonna open 360 lightly and for a few moments. Then we're gonna close it up again. And this is just to clear out our dead legs. After the circuit washing phase, we should have closed this valve as well. So now we're gonna wanna switch our water from hot to cold. And then we're gonna wanna leave this on cold. Now that our water is switched to cold, we're gonna open it up at the tank. Now we're flushing the system with cold water into the tank and out the drain. Allow this cold water to fill our vessel up to about the racking arm. Once it's there, we're gonna close the drain and open up the racking arm for a cold water recirc, at which point we're going to add the sanitizer. Now that we've been filling this with cold water and flushing it and collected cold water up to the racking arm port, we're gonna shut off the drain, open up the racking arm to start the cold water recirc. Also gonna shut off the cold water input. Now that cold water is recircing through the bottling line, I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of peracetic acid to the vessel. Make sure you wear your proper PPE and rinse and dispose of this properly. Now that we have the sanitizer circulating through the tank, we're gonna wanna press stop. You're gonna hear the machine stop. We're gonna wanna open, close the dummy bottles. And then we're gonna wanna press start. Start washing phases. Now we're gonna let the dummy bottles rinse through 3 times. Sometimes you might get a fault here for pressure. Reset it and start it until it works. Gonna hesitate on this one. There we go. Now it goes, and we're gonna want that to circulate and flush through the dummy bottles 3 times. Ready? Now we're gonna wanna flush the dead legs with a little bit of sani we have going. So I'm gonna close M389 and open M388 just for a few moments. Then I'm gonna close 388 and open 389 back up again, the way it was. Over here, we're gonna wanna flush the dead leg. So we're gonna very gently open 360 for just a few moments. Then we're gonna wanna close it. Now that these have flushed 3 times with sani, we're going to press stop. Close the dummy bottles, and then we're gonna turn on the circuit washing phase. We're gonna press start. Start washing phases. Now that those buttons have been pressed, we're gonna wanna open this butterfly valve. Once we've done that over there, we're gonna come back to the brewery side. We're gonna open the drain valve, and close the racking arm valve. This is going to start draining the sanitizer from the system. Now what we're going to do is switch it to the drainage phase, but before we get to that, if we ever have any questions about what to do next, there's these little eyes here. If you click the top little eye, it tells exactly what we need to do. If we have any questions, that's a little help screen. We'll escape that for now. The next step is to stop this, and then we are going to turn on the draining phase. That should turn off the circuit washing and the acid washing phase. And then we're gonna click start.
We need to open the proper valve.
Okay, we're not gonna click start yet. Then we're gonna go open some valves before we start it. Before we start this next phase, we're gonna have to open and close some valves here. We're gonna open the drain valve, which is valve 360. Never hurts to open every valve a little slowly. And we're gonna close these two red valves, 385 and 387, and we're going to open the red valve 384 and 386. We also want to make sure that 389 is open at this phase. Now that we have all of our valves open, and we can double check again by pressing this I, we're going to want to start. So we're going to press the start button, start washing phases. There might be some faults here. Just like before, we're going to want to reset them and try until it works. After all that, we're going to want to turn this pump off by flipping this little red valve. So after we've turned that pump off, next we're going to get to the pressurization phase. But before that, I want to make sure everything here is as is. We want to leave it as is until we're all done. So now that the system has drained its sani and finished its draining phase, we're going to click stop. And then I'm going to go over here and close the drain valve 360. So between stop and the pressurization phase, we're going to close this valve M360. Now that we've closed valve 360, we're going to want to turn on the pressurization phase. You can hear some things happening. We're going to want to click start washing phases. After about 15 minutes of the pressurization phase, you should notice that it's above 2 bar, and then we're going to want to stop this cycle. So we're going to click stop. So now that it's stopped after the pressurization phase, we're going to want to click end washing phases, and then we're going to want to turn this key to the left, and that puts it in neutral so we can use the manual runner. Click confirm here. Okay. Now that the pressurization phase is over and we have the machine set in manual, we're going to be removing these dummy bottles. To do so, we turn them clockwise until they give. We collect these on the rolling cart. To move it, we press the green button and the black button. And we're going to repeat this step until we removed all the dummy bottles. Now that we've removed all the dummy bottles, we're going to go to this screen again. We're going to clear a fault. There's a fault because we opened the door. Now I'm going to confirm that we've removed the dummy bottles. Now it says machine running for lubrication pedestals. I click start washing phases. Looks like I got another fault. Alarm selector and manual. Oh, I forgot to turn my key back. Let's clear that fault again. Go back, start washing phases.
Yeah, close your
Okay.
your send and return.
The next step is to close our send and return valve. So I'm going to come over here and close valve 389. And then I'm gonna go to the front and close valve. I misspoke, we're not closing 360, I'm closing the unmarked, unlabeled valve here. The one between the sight glass and this blue pneumatic pump. All right, now we should be done with the SANI cycle phase of the bottler CIP. Screen should look like this. We know we're all done. If we're comfortable, we shut the machine off. So now that the machine is off next door, everything's off, good to go, cleaned, sanied. We're gonna disassemble these parts, put the parts back in their buckets, and we're gonna put a cap on the end of this braided hose and on the end of this orange hose, and then we're ready to hook up for our run the following day.
Right, you're good.
All right, we're setting up the bottling machine. First, we gotta pull off 4 labels. Just stick them on the end here, and then we'll put those on some unlabeled bottles later.
Yeah, if there's slow spots, I'll edit out.
Cool.
You know, we can always make cuts and stuff too, so.
I strip
Alright.
everything down. I don't let dead space happen.
Thank you. All right, and then we're gonna put the labels on the spool here. So what we'll do then is wind it up and around this, then around here. And has to be on between these 2 bars here. And then we slide this over this piece of metal here, and you have to make sure that it goes in between this blue sensor right here, because that's what will read where the labels are. So then pull it through like this. It goes around this and behind here. And so then this has to be tight. And you can see on the other side that it has to be super tight on here. So there's no, like, if it's loose. So right here is where our flag is gonna be. And that has to be tight. If it's like this, the labels are gonna be all messed up. So make sure it's nice and tight on there. And bring it over to here, and we lock it in like that. And then this goes like this. Just take this guy here, and it just slides right in there. And then we're gonna make sure the brush is on here. Not super tight, but tight enough. And then tighten this down, and we're all set. Yeah. All right. Turn the machine on with this switch. It'll take a second to boot up. Oh, hang on, stop. Okay, we'll turn the machine on with this switch here, and it'll take a second to boot up. Or more.
What is that building?
All right, so hit the reset button, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the flag. So we're gonna put it into manual, push the caliper button, and then we're gonna hit this. It's gonna spit out a few labels. All right. And then this adjusts the flag. So I always go to 15.8 at first. Okay, switch it back to automatic, and then push this, and that'll show you, this shows you your speeds, your bottle count, etc. So this will start the conveyor, and this will start the screw, which will then send the bottles into the labeler.
through here.
Okay.
Alrighty, so now we're getting ready to set up the bottling run. And the first thing we're gonna wanna do is take these capper pieces. We're gonna wanna clean them before each run, otherwise it gets really sticky. You can see there's 3 little bolts sticking out here. There's 2 Allen wrench nuts sticking here. You can see the notches. We want the 2 notches up top with the 2 bolts up top and the 1 notch on the bottom to line up with the hole here. And you could feel it feels flush. Then we'll put it back this way. It goes. This fits right into here. And we have our screws, Allen wrench fittings will go up in the hole. And there's 2 of these, so we're going to want to get them threaded in, tightened up. Here's number 2. Once we get that, there's a bar behind here. Right now, it's horizontal. You're gonna wanna pull it out and put it vertical. That allows the caps to drop and gets the capper ready. I should also mention, you need to make sure we have the right wheel here. This one is for the ORBC bottle. We have a separate one for the 500 milliliter Euro bottle. All right, you ready, Mike? So before our run, we want to make sure we have enough caps in the capper. Thanks to Mel, we have a handy little mirror up there that shows us our volume. We got a pitcher in the bucket here, and to top it off, we just pour them in. Yeah.
And I thread it under this.
So next what we want to do is we're going to want to hook up our water line to this valve here. And we're going to want to put an extra, what do you call this? Wing valve, butterfly valve. So after the run, we can spray down the machine. We like to thread this through here. So it links up nice and easily. And then the water on this should always be cold. If we have hot water go through here, it'll shut down the machine and the vacuum pump. So next we're gonna take one of these buckets and set it here. This just helps collect some dripping, prevents bigger mess. Next we're gonna turn on the machine. That's this big red button here. Turn it vertical. Should take a few moments to boot up.
So
while the machine's booting up, we're going to come over here and open 388, the valve 388. Then we're going to make sure this little red valve is open here, and we're going to close this black valve under this grant. Okay. Ready, Mike? Then we're going to come over here to our DAW keg. DAW stands for de-aerated water. We're going to engage the Sankey, and we're going to make sure that the CO2 is on.
Ready.
Now what we're going to do, before we start, Chris, do we have to loosen those things or tighten them?
They're already loosened.
Okay.
They'll be loosened from when we did the hot rinse,
Okay.
or the CIP rather.
You ready, Mike? All right, and the next step we're going to do is setting the heights for the capper and for the whole machine, really. We're going to go to the screen here. We're going to press the hammer and wrench. We're going to do setting heights. We're going to do setting automatic height. That should take us to a screen where it shows us the bottle format we're using. Here it's already set to 500 milliliter ORBC. That's our 500 milliliter bottle. If we wanted to change that, there's different formats loaded. We just have to cycle through them. But for now, and for anything I think we're gonna be doing, it'll most likely be in the ORBC bottle. Then we're gonna click Load Format. You're gonna watch it download. You're gonna click the button that says Start Automatic Positioning of Heights.
They're all green,
We're going to want to make sure everything is green.
so the corker's off. So.
Yeah, cut it there, Mike.
So
All right, next it'll show us this screen, and we're going to want each of these 3 bars to be green. To turn this one green, as you can see it's gray right now, we're going to click Corker 1 Confirmation. 2 green bars show up down here. Visualize equipments are installed on the machine. Press the button to start positioning. I'll press that. Maybe not.
and then the bottom one.
And then I'll press.
Yeah, there you go.
Now it's starting to set the heights. So then we're going to come around the other side of the bottler, open this door that's all the way to the left of the machine, and look at the back of the capper setup. On the left side, there's these 2 bars that are loose. They should be loose before every run so the bottle heights can be set. We're going to want to tighten these 2. We don't need to crank them, but we do want them to be tight. Then we'll close the door when it's all good to go. If any of these... All right, next we're gonna set up our water to the machine. So I'm gonna open up the cold water, and we're gonna put this tape on here that says cold only, because if we get hot water, it's gonna stop our run. Then we're gonna open up the supply to our machine, and we're gonna open up the supply to the vacuum pump. My mic turn off? Okay. So the next step is hooking up the bottling machine to our beer. The orange hose is our beer supply hose. Today we're doing it from kegs. So I'm gonna hook it up to this block and bleed here. Make sure everything's nice and sanitized, obviously. We're doing it from kegs today. Normally we would hook this whole block and bleed, including the hose, up to a tank of beer. Now that we have this hooked up, I'm going to engage our kegs, turn on CO2, and then open up my beer supply lines. After we've hooked up the beer, we have our CO2 on, and everything's good to go over there on the tank side or the keg side. We're going to come back to the screen. You're going to see this middle section here is red. We're going to press that red button. That's the bowl. Now we get this next screen. We're going to want to click this gray connected button up here on the left. And now here where it says pressure setup and actual, we're going to click on. That should engage the bowl to start filling. All right, now that the bowl is filling with beer, we're gonna come over here and turn on our pump. To turn on this pump, we just turn this little red valve, and you should hear it start to click. You ready? So the next step, we would come over here at the base of the line. We wanna make sure our pneumatic pump is open. This facing this way means the pneumatic pump is on and going. We're gonna very slowly crack valve 360. This is gonna allow some beer, water to drain. Am I waiting till I see beer? Open this?
Yeah, keep that crack just like that, and then open that all the way up.
All right, so we're gonna,
Sight glass.
gotcha. So we're gonna keep this cracked, and then we're gonna open this valve here all the way up. Should be able to see water and then product. So I'm just running it until it looks nice and normal.
You're happy with it, yeah. I think it's crack beer now. Yeah.
All right, now that it's straight beer in the sight glass, we're gonna close again valve 360. If this is left open, We're gonna make a big mess over there and drain all our product. You filming? Now we're over here back on the screen. You can watch our fill level increase. That's what we wanna see. What percentage is it full? Filming? So there's a sight glass on this bowl. It's only on one side. You can see it and make sure that the beer is filling up. It should fill to about 35. When the bowl is full, it should be reading between 35 and 40%. Now that everything's hooked up, our bowl is full, we're gonna wanna start the run. To start the run, we press this green button here, start rotation.
There we go.
So now that we got the bowl fill, beer's hooked up, everything's ready, we wanna make sure the capper is in manual. We'll click this green button on the right. I feel like I didn't click that.
Yeah, you hit something different.
I think I hit something with my knuckles.
Sorry.
Yeah, hit that green button on the right. It'll bring up this capper crown screen. We're gonna wanna change the vibrator from automatic to manual.
Okay.
And we can go back.
Here, I'll say yeah.
All right, ready? Now we're ready to start the run. So I'm gonna click this middle bowl button, because we like to have it on this screen, and then I'm gonna click the start rotation, and that's gonna start filling bottles. You guys ready? Yeah. Here we go. Maybe.
Oh, it wants you to make sure your handles are locked.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Mike, and I just start roller, or do I do this one?
You can have both, but either way.
Okay. Now we're gonna wanna make sure we supply the machine with bottles. We'll come over to here to our labeler and click the start roller, start, stop, screw.
Labels are working right.
Working enough. I'm getting a little flaggers here and there, but they're so small I can just flatten them out. Like this one. All right. All right, so when we see air here, close it.
Yeah, it's going right now. It's that valve open.
Oh, once we see air here at the end of the run, we want to close this valve.
That's it.
Okay, what percentage?
Like, it used to be 25. I usually say around 30.
Okay,
I'll cut the label.
you ready? Around 30% in the bowl, we're gonna want to stop the labeler. That's good. Once we're at about 1% in the bowl, we're gonna wanna stop the run and turn it to manual. So how do you stop it?
Stop it.
Once the bowl hits 1% at the end of your run, we're gonna wanna switch it to manual. That's with this key here. Then we can use our jog buttons here.
Black,
Oh, we use the black button here. This top green one and this black button.
And then you want to watch for low fills to start.
Okay.
And this is when I open the door and I can start grabbing them before they go in. So we're not wasting.
Gotcha. probably it. So. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. So our next step of the process is to disconnect the water inlet hose from the bottling line. And we left this butterfly valve on here so we can use this to spray down the machine. But we're gonna go next door first to turn the water from cold to hot. Hey Mike, and can you hear me? All right, so our next step is over here in the brewery. We're gonna remove our cold only tape. We're gonna close the butterfly valve to the vacuum pump, and we're gonna switch from cold to hot water. So let me know when you're ready, Chris.
Ready when you are.
All right, ready. All right, now that we've switched from cold to hot water, we're gonna take the butterfly valve on our red water hose and spray down the machine. We're gonna wanna make sure we get it nice and clean so nothing gets dry and sticky. No harm in being too thorough.
That's good.
And you can cut this one anytime, really.
Yeah, I like to work from the other angle
Okay,
too.
I'll show that. Hitting under the roll. That's hot.
What is that beeping? Is that just the hot?
Here, like really pay attention because
You got the tracks going?
yeah,
Okay.
and then just kind of push it all out the back.
Yeah.
What is that beeping? Is that just hot water?
That's the capper sensor.
Oh.
There you go.
All right, so our next step is to feed our water hose back through the wall. And we're going to attach that to our orange product in hose. And just a reminder, this is on hot water right now. So, got that hooked up. I'm also going to remove the cap off of the drain. Yeah, you still filming? Point it away from you, it might get a pop and you don't want to kill anybody with a cap. There you go. And then just point this hose toward the drain because that's where we're going to flush through. Now that we have the cap off of our braided drain hose and the water, hot water, hooked up to our orange inlet hose, I'm going to open it up to start sending hot water. So an extremely important step is to loosen these up again. If we try to reset the heights and these are tight, it's going to really screw it up. You're going to hear a lot of grinding and not good for the machine. Now that I've loosened the handles on the capper, I'm going to come over here to the screen and I'm going to click disconnect on the filler. Then I'm going to click this hammer and wrench and I'm going to click setting washing. Then I'm going to click filler on and I'm going to click start. Start washing phases. Then I click enable heights positioning. And now we should start watching the heights get higher again. Manual first.
Yeah.
All right.
Grab the kettle.
Now that the settings are higher, I'm going to switch this to manual. I'm going to come over here with my buttons. And now I'm going to replace the dummy bottles onto the bowl here. So, to turn the bowl, you can use those two buttons. To put on a dummy bottle, see the notches.
Show me the notches slowly.
Notches there, two on each or one on each side. You're gonna line up those notches with the bolts here, and then you're gonna give it a turn. Doesn't have to be too tight, but it should be secure. We'll press our buttons, do the next one, and repeat until all the dummy bottles are on the line. So now that we've got all of our dummy bottles on the bowl, we're gonna come over here to the capper and remove that piece we put on earlier today. To do that, we are going to turn this bar here horizontal again. Vertical is sending caps, horizontal stops them. Then I'm gonna come down here and unscrew my Allen wrench screws out of this part. And try not to lose the screws, they are small. There goes one. Two. So we take this piece off. We're going to want to clean this before and after every run. Now that we're done with the dummy bottles and the capper, I'm going to come back over here to the bottom of our line. I'm going to close valve 384 and valve 386. I'm also going to confirm that 385 and 387 are closed. Then I'm going to open our valve here that sends, in this case, water. Next, I'm going to come over to the other side of the bottling line, and I'm going to open valve 389, and I'm going to close valve 388. Now that we've thrown all our valves, got our dummy bottles on, and the capper disassembled, we're going to come back to our screen here, and we're going to click Start on the automatic cycle and standby for new input. Start washing phases. Looks like I have to clear a fault. Alarm selector and manual.
Turn the key.
Oh, yeah, that tells me that I haven't turned this back. Then I'm going to reset it to clear the fault. Going to go back. Going to click Start again. Start washing phases.
Dummy bottles, yep, check them.
Yeah, then this is making sure that we confirm all of our dummy bottles are on the line. We do, we have them all on there, so I'm going to click Confirm.
What kind of cycle we do?
And then we're going to set it up just like CIP. So you're going to do washing phase and acid washing.
Okay, you still filming? Now we're going to click acid washing on, tank washing phase on, and then we're going to click Start.
Have the dummy bottles on or off?
Start washing phases.
They're off at first.
Okay, so there were no selections on that. That's
No.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right, what should be happening is we're sending water through our orange hose. The pump is pumping it through the bottling line, and it's draining through this braided hose into our drains. Another quick one, both short. All right, now we can see we got clear rinse water coming through. I'm gonna have to flush out our dead leg. So I'm just gonna very gently open this. Just for a few moments, and you should actually be able to see foam and beer kind of flush out. And I'm gonna close it. Now that we flushed the dead leg over there, we're gonna wanna flush the dead leg over here too. So I'm gonna close 389 and open 388. I'm gonna watch it flush. Open it all the way. And then I'm gonna close it and open 389 again. All right, you ready? Now that I've flushed my dead legs, I'm going to come over here and press stop. Then I'm going to click open close on the dummy bottles. And I'm going to click start. And then it's going to ask me about start washing phases, and I'm going to click OK. Now that we've done that on the screen, we're going to flush through these dummy bottles 3 or more times. All right. So now that we've flushed our dummy bottles 3 times, we're going to go back to the screen and press stop. Then we're going to close the dummy bottles. and then I'm going to turn on the circuit washing phase. And then I click start washing phases, okay. And then I'm going to go over to the valves. Now we're going to come back over here and we're going to open this valve M385 and this valve M387. Doesn't hurt to confirm that 384 and 386 are closed. And then we're going to open for circuit phase this butterfly valve. Open it slowly. All right, now that we've given the circuit washing phase maybe 10-15 minutes, I'm gonna come over here and click stop. Gonna listen for the machine to stop, and then we're gonna have this purple end button show up here. We're all done, so I'm gonna click end washing phases. It says, I just click stop on this screen, and then leave. It's going to ask me, attention, all washing phases are going to be set to 0, and I'm going to say, yeah. And then turn it off.
Turn it off.
All right, you ready, Mike?
Yep.
Once we've ended and finished, and everything looks good, I'm going to turn off the main power up here. Then, as a final step, we're going to close some of the valves that we have open. I'm going to close this valve, M389. Then I'm going to shut these 2 red valves, close this butterfly valve, close the main valve, and then I'm going to go to the brewery and cap up my inlet and outlet hoses.